back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Yes, you know.
Get them Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is the latest episode of the 1796 Sports Podcast. We're going to be doing a little bit of a season review now that the regular season is over. The Vols finished 8-4 and took care of business against Vanderbilt yesterday. So let's go ahead and get into it, boys. What did y'all think about the Vandy win?
Joe Milton stat line doesn't matter. I'm going to just go out and say that. Everyone's saying how good he did. I mean, Vandy sucks.
I completely agree with that. I mean, it only took him 6 years to throw for 300 yards in a game against a horrible opponent. So, I mean, I'm glad he did it, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, great guy. I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast. The moral, hey, you did it, Joe. Josh Heupel, you know, buddy, got his favorite quarterback some yards and some touchdowns. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah.
I mean, the happiest person about Joe's performance is Josh Heupel, because in his mind, I feel like that performance probably justified his whole season of playing Joe. So good for them, I guess. You know, I mean, it's kind of
What pisses me off about it is they're showboating it like on Twitter and stuff. It's like nobody is impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, I mentioned something to Ryan about it yesterday. It's like, why are all our fans, like all of our fans are acting like, you know, we just did something incredible that should be celebrated for years to come. It's like we finished with 8 wins and our quarterback had his best game of the year in his last game ever. Like, what exactly is there to be happy about? I mean, if Joe did this at the beginning of the year, you know, maybe that's something different, but I just don't understand why everybody is so – I mean, this might be controversial, but Jim, I mean, I think you'll see where I'm coming from. Like, you're probably the resident biggest Milton fan on the podcast, and even you are like, have to admit, like, what are we doing here? Like, since when did mediocre become the standard? Like, Ramel Keaton said it today, and I really appreciated it because he even said, which granted, a lot of the mediocreness is his fault, but he said today, like, you know, we raised the standard around here. Like 8-4 ain't good enough. Like the way that we played is not good enough. And a lot of fans agree with that, but then they will defend Joe Milton like he is their brother or something. Like, I don't get it. Like, I thought Tennessee fans, Joe Milton just doesn't – I mean, I know it's because he's a good guy. We all like him as a person. But I'm tired of having to preface that. You know, I mean, his play doesn't deserve you to take up for him.
Right. We said that this whole season on why he was still quarterback. Even like, I wouldn't say after the Florida game, but I mean, after the Alabama game, you could have thought that you could see either Nico or Gaston Moore play at that point.
Yeah, the thing to me is that it's so frustrating that people are, you know, giving him flowers, and he's literally crowning himself after running into the end zone while you're up 30 against Vanderbilt. Like, give me a break, son.
I thought that too, dude. I was like, why are you crowning yourself?
Like, if you would have done this against Florida and Missouri, I would be crowning you, like, and everybody else would.
Bro, I'd make myself a real crown and like try and find him and give it to him.
Yeah, but you did it against Vanderbilt. You, like, again, I'm glad he did it on his senior day, whatever. But please, like, it's like Bryce said, caping for mediocrity and him finally doing something in a game that literally doesn't matter, that you were going to win anyway, even if you played Navy Schuler at quarterback the whole game. Like, please give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're not going to talk about it too much. We're going to go on to, you know, the season review, because how much analysis do we really need to do about destroying a terrible Vanderbilt team? I mean, they're horrible. They are absolutely horrendous. And it's kind of like Jim, I don't know if you remember, but like when we played Austin P earlier in the year, and we were winning by like 7 points, and our players were celebrating after like Austin P threw an incomplete pass. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're barely beating an FCS school and you're bragging about it. Like, I don't get it. I mean, maybe it's something different when you're a player. I don't know, but it just seems like our players have just weird. I don't know. It's almost, I don't want to accuse them of this, but it seems like it's almost like all about personal achievement or something. Like, I mean, what else? Why else would Joe Milton do what he did the other day? Like, it just seems weird. Like, oh, I'm so proud of myself for doing good against a Sunbelt level team. Like, I don't know. I feel like it gives the wrong.
Something's been off all year, though. I mean, we could all agree.
Sure.
I don't know if it was just the mental or something going on. And I'm not saying there's locker room issues, but there's something to where a team, almost every important game this year, would come out in the second half and just not do anything.
No, and then they act like hot shit when they beat up on terrible teams. It's like,
Yeah, like you beat Kentucky. Kentucky's not good. I get they beat Louisville, but Louisville's not good either.
yeah, and I mean, that kind of. I mean, Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Vanderbilt before we move on?
I mean, the fight was cool.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it. Were you there? Were you at the game yesterday? Normal.
No, I didn't get to go.
Well, I was about to fall asleep in that stadium, and then the fight happened, and everybody actually started paying attention. So it instilled some much needed energy. At least.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the highlight of Vandy's season, was making a couple Vols lose their temper. I guess that's what they came to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how the season ended. It ended with a whimper, not like any of us wanted it to. So it is what it is. We'll go into now talking about, our thoughts on the season as a whole. The definition of an up and down season, I would say.
I feel like it started up and then it went down. Like we got to the peak of like we beat Virginia pretty good. We looked pretty decent in that game, and then Austin P, and then it was like straight downhill.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think you said it last week, Jim. Like after the Florida game, the vibes were just horrible.
Yeah, you win the Florida game. I mean, I feel like this season was completely different. I mean, I feel like the Alabama game wouldn't have turned out. We could have beat Alabama. I mean, you look at Alabama; they almost lost to Auburn, who lost to New Mexico State. Like, this season's definitely a disappointment. I'll just go ahead and say that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've said for the last few weeks, 8-4 is one of your better seasons in the last 15 years, but that's not the goal. And us being upset about it is a sign of a good program. I mean, when you go from 11-2 to 8-4, it's hard to say you took a step forward, because you obviously didn't. So I totally agree. It is a disappointment.
Well, I mean, it has to be a disappointment, and using the past as like the barometer, it is faulty in my opinion, because of course it's better than most seasons we've had. That doesn't mean it's good. I mean, when you start with a pile of cow shit and now you have a pile of pig shit, I mean, you're not really, are you supposed to be impressed with that? It's just, I don't understand that logic that a lot of people seem to have, where it's like, oh, well, we would have killed for 8-4 when we won 3 games. It's like, well, yeah, but that's not, that shouldn't be like the litmus test of it. It should be, compared to our potential. And when you look at the roster, that all the talented players we've had over the last like 4 years, and then you realize that last year is going to be the high point. I mean, you have every right to be disappointed in that.
Yeah, now, I mean, this offseason is going to tell us everything about this program. I hope we all three of us know that. I feel like if not both Willie Martinez and Tim Banks get fired, one of them's gone. I mean, Willie's at the end of his contract, but there's no shot they bring him back. There's no shot.
I mean,
I mean-
why? There's absolutely no reason. Do you guys know off the top of your head where Tennessee ranked in pass defense?
I mean, probably pretty low. I mean, you had Vandy throwing all over us.
I mean, probably what, 50s or 60s?
No, that would be number 80 actually. So we're behind.
We did improve. Weren't we like 120 last year?
Yeah, but we were also scoring top 5 in the, so it looks having the 80th ranked pass defense is a lot worse when you're only scoring like 24 points a game. But there's no reason Martinez should be back, and honestly, Tim Banks probably shouldn't be back either. But I don't think any of us think that'll happen, do we?
No, I see Willie being gone, maybe, and Tim Banks staying. That's what I think is going to happen.
You think Tim Banks staying?
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think Willie will be gone, because my thing is when it comes to recruiting, it's a lot of relationship things, and if you got rid of Tim Banks and Willie Martinez, you'd probably lose a couple guys.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought you never should keep a coach based on recruiting. I mean, they already have players there, and if they can't coach them, what the hell does it matter if they're recruiting players? So I've always said that, it shouldn't matter, but he's probably keeping that in mind. And I told Bryce this last night, for as much as we talk about Tim Banks, he's up for a Broyles Award or was nominated or some bullshit, which is obviously faulty, but that's probably another thing Hype is going to take into account with Banks at least.
Well, I mean, he's also never fired an assistant.
Yeah, which is, I'm honestly, I know it's probably not going to happen, which, I hope it doesn't, but I wouldn't be shocked if they were like, oh, Willie Martinez is coming back for one more year.
I just don't see it, man, especially when they didn't re-sign him after last year. They didn't extend his contract. I mean, I hope he's not back. I really hope not, but
like you said, all these I don't know, but going past the whole coaches thing, can we talk about Dylan Sampson at this point?
Yeah, I think.
Did you see his Instagram story?
No, I did not.
Well, it was a picture of him in a Tennessee uniform or whatever, and it was Drake's song, I think, saying, "Hold on, I'm coming home" or something. Isn't he from Louisiana?
Yeah, he's from Baton Rouge.
Yeah, so a lot of people, and I kind of tend to think that way. This dude would be a stud at LSU.
yeah.
He would
And
start.
I wouldn't blame him for leaving at this point. All these people are like, oh, there's no way he's leaving. Stop spreading rumors. How is it? It's been a rumor for a month. How are we not going to talk about it?
I think it's been a rumor longer
More than that. Yeah, because
I think it's been a rumor since the Florida game, really.
Well, yeah, you didn't play him at all. And then after he single-handedly got you that win in Kentucky, then he got 4 touches the next 3 games. And it's even last night he got 10 touches at the end of the game when Nico was playing.
How can you not look at that as anything other than Heupel doesn't like him?
I don't know if that's I don't know. I don't know. At that and whenever they ask him questions, it's he just shrugs it off and goes, "Oh, he knows that, he's got 2 people in front of him, blah blah blah," and does that whole kick it to the side deal.
Well, again, other than being a senior, there's absolutely no football reason Jabari Small should be ahead of Dylan Sampson on the depth chart.
Right, and that's where Josh Heupel, it tends to look that way, where he just looks at seniority and plays them.
Yeah, I think both of you said this last week, but I think there's obviously some merit to it. Is Heupel doesn't? I don't think he likes to admit when he's wrong, and if you look at that, he would look if Sampson. I hopefully Heupel would put the needs of the team above his own ego, which I think he probably would. But you have to be open to the possibility of, he's probably thinking in the back of his head, well, I'm going to look like a real dumbass if I start Sampson and he gets 200 yards a game. So we better just keep him on the bench. I mean, I'd like to think he wouldn't think that way, but it's kind of hard to come to any other conclusion at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, normal, you just said it. Like, how do you look at the last 2 drives against Kentucky and not make him a focal point of your offense after that? I mean, when you look at the season, that's probably your best win, Kentucky on the road, which is a joke. Another reason to be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another reason to be disappointed with 8-4, but he got you that win. Like, offense wasn't doing much in the second half, and Dylan Sampson put some spark into the offense. And would that have even happened if Jalen Wright wasn't, nursing an injury in the second half? Who knows? Probably not. So, I mean, it's just – I hope that's not the case, Bryce, that he's worried about being wrong. Because if you're so worried about being wrong that you'll hurt the team, we don't have the right guy.
Can I tell y'all? So this is the thing. Other than, obviously we all think he mismanaged Sampson. I think we probably all agree he mismanaged the quarterback situation.
Yep.
The most concerning thing to me about all that is, did you guys know that only Colorado and New Mexico were penalized more than Tennessee? Tennessee was number 131 in the country in penalties. Does that sound like a disciplined team to you?
No. I mean,
but to be honest, we weren't benefited in penalties at all either this year.
No, I know. I mean, but even if you take 30 of those penalties away, like say 30 were complete bullshit, we're still in the bottom half, comfortably in the bottom half. So the thing that yesterday we had 10 penalties. We had 10 penalties yesterday against Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt had 10 as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There was parts of the game I didn't watch, but I didn't see anything too egregious yesterday. It seemed like it was pretty even.
Yeah.
But, that's just embarrassing. How can you – and I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he would say the same thing. He has said the same thing about, it's unacceptable. But do something about it then. Why is this team – I mean, whether you've had the multiple off-the-field issues this season, every single game we're more penalized than the other team. I mean, obviously there's something going on that's not totally right.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Josh Heupel's gotten to Tennessee, his teams have been one of the most penalized teams in the SEC, if not the country. I mean, we didn't really realize it last year because we were beating people to sleep, but we were taking penalties last year too. I mean, this isn't anything new to Heupel's teams.
Well, I wanted to say that too. I think when you have an offense that's as prolific as last year's offense was, it kind of covers up a lot of these issues that we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
NVF, what do you think? Are you thinking Sampson's a goner?
Honestly, I don't think they let him leave. There's no way you let him leave, because then if he leaves, then your starting running back's gonna be Cam Seldon.
Yeah.
There's no way. I think you have to pull out all the stops to keep him here. I mean, he is gonna be RB1. He's guaranteed to be the guy next year, and it's just keeping him here because obviously LSU could literally tell him yo, you'll be the RB1 here. You'll get to come home. And I mean, I feel like everyone at this point knows he's close to being Jalen Wright good. I don't know if I'd put him above Jalen Wright because how good he did this year, but he's close.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you, normal Vol fan. If y'all will remember, I mean, Jalen Wright was talking about the same stuff last year at the end of the season. Everybody thought he was going to transfer, and then we stepped up and gave him some NIL, and then he had a terrific season. So hopefully we can do that again for Dylan Sampson. But
I think he's just playing his cards right. You just said, I think even Jalen Wright's probably in his ear saying, "Hey, start doing these little things, saying that you're thinking about leaving, and you'll get a deal."
Yeah, I mean, it would be stupid not to. I mean, I don't blame a kid for weighing his options.
It's smart. I would do it.
Yeah. I mean,
And he knows. I mean, the Vol Club's got the money.
Yeah. Vol
So-
Club, Spire, whoever you want to talk about. We got the collectives and the people to do it. So,
And I'm not saying he's like $1 million man, but you could give that boy some money, especially with the portal situation coming up. We're going to need to be handing out racks for offensive linemen.
well, if we can muster up enough money to have billboards and commercials of Joe Milton all over the fucking place, I'm sure we could muster up some for Dylan Sampson.
Well,
those are going straight to Nico, though.
That's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Did y'all notice who wasn't involved in senior day yesterday? So Cooper and Spraggins.
Yeah,
they're coming back.
Hell yeah.
I noticed Spraggins more because y'all had talked about Cooper not going through the night before, but then I was like, "Where's Spraggins?" So looks like they're both going to be back, which is
That's
terrific.
huge.
That's absolutely huge. Now I know Campbell's not coming back.
Potentially. I've heard from people that people are trying to keep him here.
It looked like, I mean, he could obviously change his mind, but he posted something about like one final ride or something.
I think he's projecting first through third rounds. So I may be wrong on that, but if I was him, I would go ahead and go.
But still, I mean, knowing that, I don't think it's a stretch to say Spraggins and Cooper are two most reliable offensive linemen.
For sure.
Oh yeah, those are gigantic pickups. Like, I mean, at this point, if I'm Cooper, I don't play the bowl game. I heal up. I take this whole offseason to heal up and get healthy for next year because we need him 100%.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the bowl game is pretty much meaningless at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm not putting anybody important. I'm not risking that.
Not even Nico. I wouldn't play Nico. I am not risking Nico getting hurt in a Music City Bowl.
No, yeah, let Joe crown himself a couple more times.
Yes, go ahead, go throw 400 yards against whoever, because like if we play North Carolina, Drake May is not going to play. There's no way.
No, yeah.
Drake May is a top 5 pick,
and it's not like Joe Milton's going to sniff the first round. So I mean, he has nothing to lose by playing. So.
I mean, if he's given the option to play, he's going to play. I mean, I kind of want to see Nico play the bowl game because you would have, 9 months if he does get hurt. But, last year when Milton did so good in the bowl game, everybody was tricked into thinking, this guy's going to be it. So, it really doesn't matter even if he does awesome in the bowl game. So.
I fully believe that Joe playing in the bowl game last year is the reason we didn't get Sam Hartman, and that is a hard pill to swallow.
Oh, God, dude. What a different season we would have had.
I mean, I think it's – I mean, there's no point rehashing it now, but overall, what do y'all think? Let's get some main takeaways from this season.
So, obviously, we know it's a disappointment, but we'll cut out that part, I guess. I mean, you said this season. We're not talking about anything else?
Nope, yeah, just your takeaways from the 8-4 regular season.
Well, play calling's got to be fixed. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he let Halsey call all the plays. I don't know. No one knows because I just don't think Josh Heupel was calling the plays. There's no way. After last year, there's no way he was calling the plays. So that's like a main focus of what I would get done after seeing that this year. I think that's our biggest downfall. I think our secondary's got to get better. I think it was improved. I think Kamal getting hurt really made it step back a lot. But overall, like, I'm not disappointed with the team. I'm more disappointed with the administration part of this season, if that makes sense.
No, that totally agree. Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, to me, this season, you shot a bogey, meaning you lost one game that you shouldn't have lost. I mean, you can argue that you shouldn't have lost at Missouri the way that you did, but once you saw the teams going into that matchup, it was not a stretch to say that, you know, that game is a game that you shouldn't have won. So I'm going to say we only lost one game we weren't supposed to win, but, you know, at some point you're going to have to win games that you aren't supposed to win. Like the coaches in the program at Tennessee, it comes down to 3 games: Florida, Georgia, Alabama.
Well, Ryan, let me.
If you can't beat those teams, you're not going to have a good season, and that's what happened this year.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. I just wanted to say that's exactly why I'm not happy about the Vandy game, because that's exactly what you should do against Vanderbilt. Like, that's nothing to be bragging about or happy about.
Yeah, for sure.
So at some point, like you said, perfectly said, at some point, we're going to have to start winning games we shouldn't. And we kind of did in 2022, you know, with Bama, but then we screwed it up by losing to South Carolina. So it's like, if we could ever have a season where we win the games we're supposed to win and sneak out 1 or 2 we shouldn't, you know, then you're looking at something special.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot easier next year if you do that. Even if you win just one game you shouldn't win, you're going to be 9-3 or 10-2 and be playoffs probably. So
You're talking about next year?
yeah, for the 12 team.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we're going to do that well next year.
You know, it's kind of like your fixes, you know, play calling and all that. I definitely agree with the play calling. I think we need to, like we mentioned earlier, the penalties have to get fixed. Need to shore up some spots. And if we do all of that, I expect us to make the playoff. That should be the expectation for next year.
I think, you know, the thing about next year, I do think our non-con is incredibly easy. I mean,
Other than NC State.
NC State will be a tough game. That'll be tougher than Virginia. But Chattanooga, Kent State, and UTEP. I mean, Kent State and UTEP are 2 of the worst teams in Division I. In Chattanooga's in the FCS. So, I mean, you know, and plus NC State's at a neutral site. I mean, it's in the Panther Stadium, so that'll probably be at least 50% Vols fans.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
I was going to ask all about this. So all 3 of us think the play calling was weird. Like, it's not just a personnel issue, like a roster issue. Like, the play calling sucked this year. And you know, do you think Heupel would be willing to admit, like, make a change there? Like, I know nobody really knows if Halsey calls the plays or not. But, like, why would you not bring in someone like Dana Holgerson, who just got shit canned from Houston? You know, usually this team, they had a bad year this year, but usually his team scored like 60 points a game. Like, why would you not call in someone like that just to see if that works? I mean, it can't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, at least as an analyst or something. I mean, I still hold, you know, as far as play calling, I still think it came down to Milton. But, you know, you could also say that maybe people are figuring out Heupel's offense.
See, I don't think it's that, because you can't. I don't think you can really blame Joe Milton for it, because, like Jim said the other week, either Heupel forgot how to call plays or he doesn't trust Milton. Either way, it's his fault.
Yeah,
yeah. If you don't trust Milton if you can't use your full playbook with Milton, then he shouldn't have been playing in the first place.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Not going back to it though, and I brought this up before. Like, I noticed like the tempo was way slower this year. Like, I don't think it was just the play calling. I don't know if it was the guys being out of shape or just not being up tempo like we were when Hendon Hooker was quarterback. It was non-stop. You'd get a 2-yard gain, it was 2 seconds, play was going off. Like, it wasn't like this year. It was more, I'm going to go slow, we're going to get up to the line fast. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that way, but I thought it was way slower than last year.
Yeah, it's undeniable. And, I hate to blame it on Milton again, but I don't think he's comfortable going that fast. I mean, I noticed yesterday, because I was really just paying attention to how everything worked. I wasn't really worried about the game. Like, he looks to the sideline a lot. Like, even when we get good gains, it's not just on third downs. Like, I don't think he has as good of a grasp on the offense as Hendon Hooker did. I think Hendon Hooker was put on this earth to run Josh Heupel's offense, and that's why he was so good.
100%. I think Heupel is more of a manager. Or, I'm sorry, Hooker knows how to manage an offense better. I think Milton is 100% a quarterback that has to have competent coaching and a very specific type of coaching. Obviously, Heupel's competent. I just mean Milton has to have a coach and a game plan that is catered to his strengths. And Heupel's ideal offense is not really catered to Milton's strengths.
Yeah, and another thing that makes me think that is when Nico went in the game in the fourth quarter, we were running mock speed.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, like, don't y'all think the offense just looks more fluid with Nico?
Well, Nico just looks like a more fluid quarterback in general. I mean, even with him in the pocket, his decision-making, it was just like, wow. The kid was quick on his feet. He'd get pressured. He'd get out of the pocket. He could throw on the run. It was like he would make a decision quick. There was one play where Joe could have took off and got a 40-yard run and just threw it away. And it was like Nico would go run, and a smart quarterback, you go run, get 5, 6, 7 yards, and slide. That's it. Call it dead. Get up, get back on the line, and run your next play. But, like, I don't know. I think whoever, I can't remember who said it, but I feel like Joe is just, I wouldn't say he's not slow. I mean, the guy's a smart guy. It's just, I feel like football-wise, it's just comes a little bit slower to him.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed about Nico, and you kind of alluded to it, Normal, he just has a sixth sense, a clock in his head. Like, if something's not happening within a certain amount of time, he's taking off. Like, easy, simple. And, when he had his little scramble for a first down, another thing he did was hold the ball out for another yard or two as he was going out of bounds. Like, just simple stuff that makes me think that his football IQ is off the charts.
Oh, yeah. And you know who he really reminds me of? And I thought about it after watching him today. He reminds me of C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud in the NFL. I was just watching him today. He'd get pressured. He knew he had to get out of the pocket. He'd run around a little bit. He'd find something. If he didn't see anything, he threw the ball away. That's it. That reminded me of Nico, because Nico would do that. Joe would just throw a 90-yard bomb, hoping someone would catch it inside and then throw an interception somehow.
Yeah, twice yesterday he threw it deep down the field when the guys were obviously covered, when he had people underneath for decent gains. Probably both of them would have been first downs. The second one was horrible. He had like 20 yards of space in front of him and squirrels sitting on the sidelines waiting to catch a first down pass, and he launched it downfield in the triple coverage. Like, he chose the worst option out of the three. Could have ran for a first down, could have passed for a first down, but he threw it in the triple coverage.
And that's where you got to look at the positive side, going into this next season. I feel like we're getting an upgraded quarterback, hands down.
Yes.
And if Dylan Sampson doesn't leave, which I don't think he will, but if he does, I mean, we'll have a decent running back. Cam Selton's not bad, and he's just young. But if Dylan Sampson stays, I mean, you're keeping a great running back, and that matches what you had. I feel you got Squirrel White coming back. You probably have Brew McCoy coming back. When we talked about Cooper Mays and Spraggins, and was saying Mike Matthews should be playing. Like, do not sit him a year. Even Braylon Staley, too. I feel like he should get some playing time. But anyway, we were talking about our schedule next year.
Yeah, like Ryan was saying, he's not really – there's nobody as of now. Like, who knows what will happen in the portal, but there's really no quarterbacks that terrify you. I mean, as a cursory glance at the schedule, other than the two teams that you're probably going to lose to anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas is losing KJ. Oklahoma's losing Gabriel.
Well, KJ might not go now, though, because he does have a year of eligibility.
I mean, maybe. And that game is in Arkansas. I mean, but just going on down the list, I mean, Florida's losing Mertz, Kentucky's losing Leary, and then you play Mississippi State and Neyland. That should be a easy game with the first year coach. So I mean, the schedule set. I mean, it's like you said earlier, Bryce. The non-con is just about as easy as it was this year, and then you have an easier conference schedule. I mean, I think the playoffs should be the goal for next season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not negative towards next season at all. Especially, I think it's huge if they do. I mean, they could change, but Spraggins and Mays coming back it makes me feel a lot better. But we were talking about receivers. Dante Thornton didn't participate in senior day, so he might be coming back. Makes the room a little deeper, I guess. I mean, I wasn't too impressed by him, but
yeah. I mean, you're the hope is with another year in the system, he can turn into a productive player. That's the hope, at least. I mean, but it's like we were just talking about. Mike Matthews should be a contributor immediately. You got to swirl back. I mean, and Nimrod and Webb are continuing to grow. I mean, I think we'll be fine at receiver, even if you don't add something through the transfer portal.
it's definitely the secondary that I think we're all concerned about, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which we have the young guys for. It's just the coaching has just not been fantastic.
The coaching's been abysmal, and we definitely need, I would say, at least one or two veterans out of the portal that could help the young guys get acclimated back there. It would be nice.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this. Reviewing this season, I think the number one takeaway for me, and I know there's a lot of takeaways you could have, but the Florida loss, it just gets harder and harder to stomach each week. And the fact that, Florida is not even going to be in a bowl game, and that is the team that we let send our season on a downward spiral, it's just inexcusable. You would have felt – you still would have been pissed, and you still would have felt like you should have won it. But if Florida ended up as an 8-win team, you'd feel a little bit better about it. But the fact that, they turned out to be a terrible team, it just makes it that much more inexcusable.
Yeah. It's just we pissed on our leg when we go to the Swamp. And when we go there in 2 years, I'm not going to pick us to win. I've learned my lesson. There's no point in picking that a win until we actually do it for the first time in 20-plus years now. So it's just frustrating. I mean, that's the last time we played in the Swamp, they finished 4-8 in 2021. We just don't win there for whatever reason. And that's – until we can beat Florida consistently – this program is going to continue to be average at best. That's just the bottom line.
I think another thing that has been bothering me lately is the whole attitude where if you're a true fan, you can't criticize the team. That is such a loser mentality. Anybody who is disappointed with 8-4 or disappointed with this season, or if you thought that Joe Milton, kind of ruined the season to some extent. If you think like that, you're classified as a bad fan or a negative Nancy or something. And it's we all give our money to this team. I mean, either that or we're alumni of the school. And it's if we can't criticize them, then who can? It's I don't understand. I don't understand that mentality of we should just be grateful for what we have. No, this is Tennessee. This isn't Vanderbilt. Okay. We should be allowed to criticize our players. We should be allowed to be unsatisfied. And I just don't understand the Vols fans who are trying as hard as they can to squeak out some inkling of positivity.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly positives to be had. I mean, you went 8-4 with a quarterback that you either didn't trust or just wasn't good enough to win you the the swing games and you went 8-4. Whatever. That's fine. That's a lot better than we have been in the past. But like you said earlier, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to the dunderheads that were here in the last 15 years. Like, we're obviously yearning for more than that. So
Well, and like, who
I
cares?
totally agree. I totally agree.
Well, and like, who cares about again, I'm going to stress this. I like Joe Milton. I think a lot of him as a person. But honestly, like, if I see one more tweet about Milton had the chance to leave twice and he didn't do it, it's like, okay, who cares? Like, what did he accomplish by staying here? I mean, it might have been better for his career if he didn't stay. Like, I just don't understand that attitude. It's like, yeah, it was definitely cool of him. He could have left us high and dry. And I wish the best for him going forward, but to act like, he's just this incredible hero for staying twice. It's like, okay, like, well, guess what? We're 8-4. So
Yeah. I respect. This is going to sound outlandish to both y'all, probably. I respect Jarrett Garantano more than I do Joe Milton.
I don't know about that one.
Okay, listen. Hear me out. He got bludgeoned by lines that were horrible every time he started, and he was hated by the fan base. Like, hated. He's probably never going to show his face in Knoxville again. And he never said a disparaging word about the fan base or anybody. And he also stayed. And he threw for 400 yards in a game once. And he was coached by people who had no fucking clue what they were doing. Like, I don't see how people shit on JG all the time and then put Milton up on a pedestal.
To be fair, though, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Like, I get what you're saying, but there's also a possibility that they're both overrated and they both suck. Not maybe they don't both suck. Joe Milton is. I mean, you might disagree with me, but Joe Milton is 10 times better than JG. I put a poll out there, and thankfully, most people agreed that Joe Milton's better. But JG, all the proof he needed about JG is that he transferred and didn't start there either. So, I mean, it's not like he was some amazing talent like Alvin Kamara that was just held back by shitty coaches. Like, no, he just was a shitty quarterback. Like, it wouldn't have mattered. We wouldn't have won 8 games with JG this year.
I tend to think we probably would have if you put him in this offense.
You think so?
Yeah, sure. Like,
Sure, at this point.
I mean,
Well,
I just don't. The main point of the JG and Milton comparison is, I just don't see how, like, it's like we've been talking about, people just putting Milton on this, like, on deity levels, and then shitting on JG for all those years. Like, they really aren't that much different of quarterbacks.
Milton is definitely put on a pedestal that he shouldn't be, but I still think he deserves more than JG. And I think he's more likable too. Like, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, it's kind of beating a dead horse. NVF, did you have any more thoughts on this season?
Not really. Before we ended it, I kind of wanted to do like a prediction for next season's record, but before the offseason, happened, so we could look back to this podcast and see what changed after we get towards the first episode of next season. So I'm kind of I know we don't know the order, but we know the teams we're playing. So I mean, we could go in like just any order. I mean, the non-conference, to me, I feel like the only game we could lose is NC State.
Yeah, if you lose any of the other non-cons, we got major issues.
Yeah, they're all at home too. So I mean, if you lose those, your season's not going to be good. So we'll say 4-0 because I feel like we should beat NC State too.
Yep.
So we can say we're 4-0 there, which is good. But I mean, we'll start with the away games.
Yep.
Going to Arkansas, what do you guys think?
Win.
It should be a win.
Now are we thinking though, is Pittman still going to be there?
Probably.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got some buddies that are connected to Arkansas, and the general consensus is he will be back. Now, I think that's pretty stupid, but
I mean, if they were going to fire him, they would have already done it probably.
that either way, we recruit at a higher level than Arkansas. We have a better caliber player than Arkansas. I mean, that should be a win.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, if you don't fire your coach before the end of November, you're way behind the 8 ball with the early signing date. So he's probably going to be there.
Okay, so we're saying that's a win.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll just say 5-0 at this point. I think this one's a loss, but we're going to Athens.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and say loss for now.
Yeah, until they prove otherwise. I mean, it's hard to predict that we're going to beat a team that's won 30 games in a row.
Yeah, I honestly don't. I think no matter what happens this offseason, unless we get no fans at the stadium or something type advantage, then I think that's a loss no matter what.
Yep.
But all right, well now we're going away to Josh Heupel's old stomping ground, Oklahoma.
You know, I think that is the biggest game of the season.
Depending on when it is.
Yeah. But, I mean, either way, I think that's going to be the swing game this year, whereas Florida was this year. Josh Heupel's going to have something for Oklahoma. And it just depends on if Nico can rise to the occasion. So,
which I think he can. I think he has what it takes.
I mean, for now, with Gabriel leaving and Nico coming in, I mean, I have no idea what their roster looks like, but Oklahoma's kind of faltered against teams they should have beaten this year, much like us. I mean, they've kind of had the similar month of November. So, for now, I'm going to say win, just trying to be optimistic.
Okay. Bryce, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. I think after that game is over, at the end of the 2024 season, that'll be the game that we look back to one way or the other as like the precipice, like turning point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Heupel kind of end on bad terms with Oklahoma?
He hates their athletic director.
Yep.
Okay.
He was blamed for Trevor Knight, and it was a bunch of horseshit.
Well, in that case, I think you're totally right. Heupel's going to want to shove it down their throats. So I could see us going in and winning that game.
Yeah.
Is Gabriel coming back?
I mean,
I don't think he is he?
I doubt it.
Because I thought the Arnold kid was going to be playing.
Yeah, so he can come back. He has one more year of eligibility if he wants to. And with the way that Drake May has kind of shit the bed in the last month, I wouldn't be surprised if Gabriel grades out as like a second-round pick.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see that. But anyways, we're saying that's I consider that game a toss-up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to win the Vandy game because that's a home game anyway. We're going to checker Vandy's new stadium. But anyway, going to the home games, I mean, we'll start with the easiest one, Mississippi State.
Win. I mean, if you end up losing to Jeff Lebby in his first year with the depleted roster, that's not a good sign. So,
and Will Rogers is entering the transfer portal too, so who knows who their quarterback's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, which they could get somebody decent, but I still think you should pull out that win.
No, I agree. I think that's a win. But then you got Kentucky at home.
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and say win there too, especially with, I mean, Stoops almost left. I mean, I think he would have if A&M's fans didn't.
That's a fact.
He probably would have been an A&M's coach today if they didn't have a full-on riot on their message boards. So
that's hilarious, though. We got to respect a good a good fan base uprising.
They were asking us how to do it.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
And they executed it to perfection at the time of day that the news dropped.
I forgot who it was on Twitter. I think it was Big Orange Punch, where he was like, find a big donor and get them involved. And I'm pretty sure they did, because they literally, like, within the hour, it was like, no, I love Kentucky. I'm never leaving.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being Mark Stoops right now? By the way, he thought he was about to double, triple his salary and go live in Texas with no state income tax. Just for 30 minutes later, he finds out he's stuck in that shithole state for at least another year.
And he has to act like he loves it there.
There's
no shot where he's just like, yeah, I love this football program. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that was a publicist written tweet for sure. So,
but anyways, we'll move into the next game. The Florida Gators come to town.
If it's in Knoxville, it's a win.
It is. And
yeah, no, I'm just.
I feel confident in that too, Bryce. You know, I mean their recruiting class is decent right now, but with them coming in Eland and our recruiting class being right behind them at the moment, you should be winning that game. So I'm gonna say win as well.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think we got to look forward to this offseason, because I mean he's questionable too, coming back, Sunbelt Billy. So I mean, you got to look into that and see if that happens. So, but anyway, and we all know which one's coming up the third Saturday in October. You got Alabama coming to town.
Oh, yeah. So
again, it's kind of hard for me to like in good faith predict a win.
Yeah, I mean, Milroe's going to be back, and we're going to be having a freshman quarterback that's going to be taking lumps. So I'll predict a loss for now, and that should round out our predictions, correct? Yeah. So it's like I said earlier, like you have 3 losses on this schedule that, like, if you're being pessimistic, are no doubt losses in Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama. But the rest of them, you should win. Like, so 9-3 should be a cakewalk next year. And if you win one of those games that are, you know, either toss-ups or ones that you shouldn't, you should be in the playoffs. So that's why I'm confident in saying that the goal should be making the playoff.
I'll go so far as to say this: 8-4 next year,
complete and utter failure.
Somebody needs to be fired if that happens. I don't think it will, but 8-4 next year would be completely unacceptable. Anything less than 9-3 is just completely unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim, what do you think?
So the way I look at it, and I'm trying to be as realistic as possible, with pretty much a freshman starting quarterback, I'm thinking honestly, and it hurts my soul, and like I said, this might change after this offseason, after the portal and all that, but I think our ceiling's 8-4. I honestly can see us easily losing 4 games.
Who would you say? So obviously the 3, but who else would you see us losing to right now?
So Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and honestly, I could see us losing to Florida too.
Now Florida does have
even NC State. NC State's a throw up too.
Florida does have an incredible recruiting class, and who knows what they'll do at quarterback.
Well, but like I said, this could change. I'm going off of, like, I'm saying Florida's win. That's why, but 9-3 is very possible. But it all depends, because you got to remember. I mean, it all depends on what they do in the portal too. So. Yeah. Florida could go get a crazy good quarterback in the portal and just be, shock the world. Who knows? But that could be us too when it comes to offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Who knows? So right now, I think I'm going to stick with 8-4.
See, I think in year 4 of a program, you should be beating a team that's 3 years in a row of not making a bowl coming into your stadium. That's how I look at it, and I know
I agree.
that might be oversimplifying. I think you should be beating the ACC team at a neutral site. So I mean, it's like I said. I think 9-3 should be a cakewalk, and it's like I said earlier. Like you shot one over this year. You had a bogey against Florida. Like if you end up getting a birdie next year, beat Oklahoma or Alabama at home, I'm not even going to entertain beating Georgia and Samford. But if you end up winning one of those games that are a toss-up or, one that you should lose, like, I mean, even 9-3 might get you in the playoffs next year, depending who you lose to and where they end up. So that should be the goal. Those are my thoughts on the schedule.
Well, all right, we have it there. I mean, like I said, I thought that'd be fun to come back on and be like, oh, well, you said this, and let's say we magically go 10-2, 11-1. We're just talking smack about us way in advance.
There you go. There you have it. Hey, before we get off here, I kind of want to do a little Maui recap and see what y'all's thoughts are on how we fared.
Let's do it.
Oh, shit. Ryan, real quick.
Yeah.
So, did y'all see A&M is officially hiring Elko?
There you go. That's who I said is a way better option to you last night, Bryce.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense. Also, Vanderbilt has had 5 players join in the portal today, including their quarterback.
Yeah.
Wait, who?
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt has
who
had
cares?
5 starters join the portal today.
But is one of them Will Shepard?
I haven't seen him yet, but
I'd be surprised if he didn't. I don't know if he has eligibility left, though.
He might not.
Ken Seals. We need a backup quarterback.
Well, we kind of do. I mean, you'd have Merklinger as your backup next year if you don't. So maybe. But
Anyway, Maui Invitational, sorry.
Bryce, let's hear your thoughts on Maui.
I think it's disappointing. Losing to Purdue is one thing. I think that wasn't too surprising, but I was hoping we'd win the third place game. I mean,
yeah. To me, I mean, it kind of exposed our weaknesses because you played 2 of the best big men in the country. You played Zach Edey and Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah.
And they kind of had their way on drawing fouls and, putting up points. But to me, it's not too much of a disappointment when you play the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country in less than 24 hours and you only lose about 13 combined points when you had horrible shooting nights in both games. So I think it's a good thing to have those experiences early, and hopefully we can notch a big win in Chapel Hill on Wednesday.
I don't think North Carolina is that good. So
yeah,
I'm not totally out on the season or anything. Like I said before in our preview for the Maui, I thought it was going to be it was possible that we could get exposed a little bit with our big situation, and it kind of did. So
yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, we didn't shoot well at all in either of those 2 games. So if you had even a decent shooting night, you're probably coming down to the wire with both of them or even winning against both of them. So I still feel good about the team. What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
I was disappointed as well, but you got to look at it on the bright side too. I mean, we lost to the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. And we only lost to Purdue due to foul trouble.
Yep.
That's the only reason. And then Kansas, the only reason you lost that game is the second half. You couldn't hit a shot. Literally. You couldn't buy a bucket. So I think you clean it up. I think you hit the nail on the head, Ryan. I feel like you get these 2 out of the way. It's a great learning experience. And I think they'll take advantage of learning that against 2 really good schools to play. And hopefully we'll beat North Carolina, and hopefully we move on to, conference play and have no trouble. At this point, I'm not worried about Arkansas. I don't know, and we'll get into this when we talk more basketball, but, still, a lot of teams that we were worried about before the season even started, I'm starting to think otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, you basically played 2 Elite 8 games in less than 24 hours.
Oh, I think those were Final Four games.
Yeah. I mean, and you're also playing in a gym that has a NBA 3-point line for no reason.
Exactly.
We were shooting NBA threes when we didn't have to be, so I think that factored in too. But it's like we all kind of agree. It's disappointing a little bit, but we're still in a pretty good spot to make some hay in conference play. So
yeah, but you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I do have one thing. That is, go Vols.
go Vols.
Go Vols forever.